to ask you something, and I want you to be honest.
Okay.
Have you ever stressed yourself out trying to relax? You know the scenario. You've had a long week, you're totally burned out, so you decide to be good.
Hmm.
You download the meditation app, you buy the expensive cushion, you sit down, close your eyes, and then just absolute panic.
Oh, yeah. The internal monologue starts.
Exactly. It's instantaneous. Am I breathing deep enough? Wait, is my diaphragm moving or just my chest? The guide said, clear your mind, but I'm thinking about that email I didn't send.
I am failing at clearing my mind.
I am failing. And 10 minutes later, you get up and you are significantly more anxious than when you sat down because you were trying so hard to do it right.
That is the classic paradox of the modern wellness industry, isn't it? We have effectively managed to turn the simple act of existing into a performance review.
A performance review for your soul. That is exactly what we're unpacking today. We're taking a really rigorous look at some beautiful, almost poetic source material called Trusting the Presence Over the Process.
Right. And it's centered on this piece, A Conversation That Breathes, with Alison McLean,
Yeah.
along with some really deep reflections that follow.
And honestly, this isn't just some fluffy conversation about taking it easy. This is a deep dive into a very specific tension that I think rules most of our lives. The tension between process, which is all about, steps, rules, getting it right, and presence, which is about trusting your own internal knowing.
I love that distinction because we are obsessed with process. We want the manual.
We want the 5 steps to a perfect life.
We do. We want the map because the actual territory, our actual lives, feels terrifyingly unpredictable.
Yeah.
But the source material puts forward this really striking premise right out of the gate.
Which is?
It suggests that by constantly hunting for the correct method, we have effectively turned aliveness into a task.
Aliveness into a task.
Yep.
Wow. That hits me right in the chest. It implies we are working at our own existence. Like it's a job we might get fired from.
Yeah.
So let's start where the source starts. They ground this huge concept in the most basic biological function we have, breathing.
It's the perfect entry point because it's something you do, 20,000 times a day? And usually you do it without thinking.
Right.
But think about all the messaging now. Breathe into your belly, count to 4, hold for 7, exhale for 8.
Box breathing, Wim Hof, breath of fire.
Oh, I'm fully guilty of this. If I'm not breathing in some kind of specific geometric pattern, I feel like I'm leaving optimization on the table, like I'm doing it wrong.
And that is exactly where the trap lies. The source points out this profound irony. It says, breath has never asked to be corrected. It arrives, it leaves, it does not seek approval.
Wow.
Think about that. Your body has known how to breathe since the second you were born. It doesn't need a manual.
But the mind wants the manual. The text says the mind naturally asks, what's the right way? Why is that? Why can't we just let it be?
Because the mind seeks security through a framework. If there's a right way, then I can do it, and I can be safe.
The source argues that the moment we believe there is a correct way to breathe, we step out of presence and into performance. We stop experiencing the breath, and we start managing it.
We become the auditor of our own biology.
Exactly.
That's such a huge concept, stepping out of presence and into performance, because if you're performing, you're looking for an audience, right? Even if that audience is just your own critical inner voice.
Precisely. You are outsourcing your intimacy with being alive. That's the phrase the source uses. Instead of just feeling the air, you're checking the procedure.
Okay.
And here's where the source drops a kind of controversial idea, especially for the wellness crowd.
Yeah.
It claims there is no single correct way to breathe.
Which is wild to hear because I feel like I see ads every single day telling me I'm breathing wrong and it's ruining my health.
And those ads are selling you a process. But the force suggests that believing there is one correct way creates unnecessary dependency. It keeps you searching.
So if I think there's a secret code, I'll always be looking for the teacher who has that code.
You will never trust the ground beneath your own feet, as the text puts it.
So we're terrified that if we don't follow the manual, we'll mess it up.
Okay.
But you can't really mess up being alive, can you? I mean, you're doing it right now.
Hopefully. But this is the bridge the source material builds. It starts with breath, but it says, what we're touching here isn't really about breath. Breath is just the doorway.
Okay, let's walk through that doorway, because this definitely applies to more than just, inhalation and exhalation.
Oh, everywhere.
This performance over presence thing is in how we work, how we date, how we parent.
It's the quiet habit, as the text describes it, of giving our authority away. We give it to systems, to teachings, to techniques.
And the source is careful to note, It's not because these guides or systems are wrong, right?
Exactly. It's not that the breathing technique is bad or the parenting book is evil.
It's our relationship to it.
It is. It's that we have forgotten that knowing is already embodied. We treat ourselves like these empty vessels that need to be filled with instructions.
The source talks about this in terms of spell breaking, which sounds very mystical, almost like a fairy tale, but they frame it in a really grounded way. What is this spell we're under?
This is one of the most insightful parts of the material, I think.
Yeah.
The spell is the belief that something outside of us will finally complete the picture.
The missing piece.
The missing piece is a deep-seated idea that you are a puzzle with a missing piece. And if you can just find that piece...
Then I'm done. Then I'm fixed.
Exactly. And that piece could be anything. A certification, a job title, a relationship status, a diet plan.
Oh, I feel that. The endless stacking, the text mentions this, the endless stacking of courses, credentials, identities. Like, once I get this degree, then I'll be legitimate.
Once I read this stack of self-help books, then I'll know how to live. And the tragedy of that spell isn't that it's malicious. The source says it was never malicious.
It's just a misunderstanding.
It's a misunderstanding, a belief that we need saving. And as long as you believe you need saving, you will constantly be looking for a savior, a guru, a therapist, a productivity app.
So what happens when the spell breaks? Or as the text says, when it loosens? If I stop believing I'm a puzzle, what do I do? How do I view my life?
This is my favorite image from the source material. It says, when that belief softens, life stops feeling like a puzzle to solve.
Okay.
And starts feeling like a field to move within.
That is a massive shift in perspective. A puzzle to solve versus a field to move within. Let's break that down.
Well, think about a puzzle. It's rigid, it's binary, it's either solved or it is a mess. There's only one right place for every single piece.
And if you force a piece where it doesn't belong, you've failed. You're stuck. It's high anxiety.
And a field. A field is open. It's terrain. You can run, you can walk, you can sit down, you can change direction.
And a storm in a field isn't a mistake. It's just weather.
Exactly. There's no wrong way to move through a field. You're just exploring the landscape.
That feels so much lighter. If I'm not a puzzle to be solved, then I don't need to be fixed. I just need to be here.
And that is the crux of it. We spend so much energy trying to fix ourselves. The source is inviting you to stop asking, how do I fix this? And start asking, how do I move through this?
But let's, play devil's advocate for a second. Because moving through a field isn't always sunny and nice. Sometimes there are thorns. If we aren't using process to fix our problems, what do we do when things get difficult?
That is the crucial question. Because trusting presence doesn't mean ignoring reality. It actually means engaging with it more deeply. And this brings us back to the breath, but with a new definition.
Okay.
The source introduces breath, not as a tool to calm down, which is another form of fixing, but as a pivot point.
A pivot point. Unpack that for me. How is that different from a tool?
A tool is used to achieve a specific outcome. I breathe to stop the anxiety. A pivot point is a pause where choice becomes visible. It's not a prescription.
Okay, so it's about radical awareness. You aren't trying to change the channel. You're just watching the show.
Exactly. The text says emotions don't show up to be fixed. They arrive as messengers pointing to places where an old strategy is still running.
Where an old strategy is still running. That's a fascinating way to look at negative emotions. Can you give a concrete example of that?
Sure. Imagine you're in a meeting at work. Someone questions your data in front of the boss. Immediately, your chest tightens, your face gets hot, and you feel this surge of defensive anger.
Oh, yeah. The fight response.
Right. That biological reaction is the old strategy. Maybe it's a script from childhood that says, to be safe, I must be right. If I'm wrong, I'm in danger.
So if I treat this like a puzzle to be fixed, I might try to suppress the anger or, lash out. I'm reacting.
Correct. You are obeying the script.
Yeah.
But if you use the breath as a pivot point, you pause. You take one breath. You don't try to make the anger go away. You just witness it.
Oh, tightness is here. Defensiveness is here.
Yes. And the source says that discomfort isn't a failure. It says discomfort is evidence that something is ready to be met differently. It's a notification on your dashboard. It's not saying system failure. It's saying update available.
I love that reframe. Discomfort isn't failure. It's evidence of readiness. But we usually just want to swipe that notification away.
We do. But the source argues that growth doesn't mean erasing the reaction. It means seeing the reaction clearly enough that we no longer have to obey it.
No longer have to obey it. That is powerful. So I can feel the anger, I can acknowledge the messenger, but I don't have to flip the table.
Right. And you don't have to suppress it either. You just witness it. And in that tiny gap of prowess, you're not an unconscious participant in your own drama. You're watching the game and you can choose how to play.
It sounds like this requires a lot of trust. Trusting that if you don't immediately try to fix the feeling, it won't destroy you.
And that's why the title is Trusting the Presence over the Process. Process is a safety blanket. Presence is naked. It's just you and the moment.
This bleeds into the topic of purpose, too. The source material has a section on this that really struck me. We treat purpose like the ultimate destination.
The holy grail at the end of the quest.
Yeah.
Once I finish this master's degree, my purpose will appear.
But the source says purpose is a pulse.
Yes, as if purpose were a destination instead of a pulse. Think about that. A pulse is happening right now. You can't find a pulse in the future. You can only feel it in the present.
So purpose isn't something you find, it's something you...
What's enacted? The text says purpose is not a future clarity, it's a present honesty.
Present honesty. That is so simple but so difficult. It means being honest about what matters to you right now, not what you think should matter.
And not what your parents or society tells you should matter. This goes back to the spell breaking. If you stop looking outside yourself for the answer, you're forced to look at what is actually true for you in this moment.
That's where purpose lives.
It is revealed through participation, not earned through study.
Revealed through participation. That means you have to get in the arena. You can't figure out your life's purpose by journaling about it in a dark room for 10 years.
Precisely. You have to walk the field. And this is the core philosophy of the entire conversation we're analyzing. Life is experiential, not procedural.
Say that again. That feels like the bumper sticker for this whole deep dive.
Life is experiential, not procedural. We want it to be procedural because procedures are predictable. They have guarantees. If I do X, I get Y.
But experiences are messy, unpredictable, but they're also where the aliveness is.
The source lists these examples. There's no single right way to breathe, no correct way to parent, no universal path to presence.
And that is terrifying to the part of us that wants a guarantee. If there is no right way to parent, how do I know I'm not ruining my kids?
Yeah, that's a scary thought. I want the checklist.
Me too.
But flip it over. If there is no single right way, it means there are a million valid ways. It means you are free to parent from your own intuition, your own love, your own connection with your child.
Instead of trying to replicate a method from a book that might not fit your family at all.
Yes.
It's permission. It's permission to stop searching for permission.
Beautifully put. The text says, as we trust presence, we stop searching for permission. We're already inside the answer.
It's already inside the answer. It connects back to that idea of embodied knowing. The answer isn't a sentence written on a wall somewhere. The answer is the feeling of being you right now.
And think about the energy we save when we stop searching. Think about the mental load of constantly scanning the horizon for the right method.
If you put that burden down, what becomes possible?
Well, the text suggests that the game changes. Not because we forced it to, but because we stopped playing by those old rules. We stopped treating life as a problem.
We start treating it as, well, as life, as a series of moments to be witnessed and engaged with.
Right.
I want to circle back to the practical side before we wrap up, though. We've talked a lot of philosophy fields, pulses, spells, but for the listener driving to work right now, how do they start doing this today?
It starts with noticing the urge to fix. That is the trigger. Let's say you're listening and you feel a tightness in your chest. The old strategy, the process would be to analyze it. Why am I tight? Is it coffee? Is it stress?
Right. Attack the symptom. Fix the puzzle piece.
The presence approach is to just pause. Notice the tightness. Don't try to change it immediately. Just acknowledge tightness is here. Take a breath. Not to fix it, but to be with it.
It sounds so subtle, but it's a completely different relationship to yourself.
It is.
It's like the difference between a boss yelling at an employee and a friend sitting down next to you saying, hey, I see you're struggling. I'm here.
That's a perfect analogy. You are shifting from being your own taskmaster to being your own witness. And in that pause, choice becomes visible.
The action comes from listening, not from a pre-written rule book.
It's living the knowing instead of studying the knowing. We spend so much time studying map making that we forget to go for a hike.
So true. Stop looking for the 10 steps to a perfect novel and just write the sentence that feels true today.
Stop looking for the 5 steps to a happy marriage and just look at your partner and ask, what is actually happening between us right now? That is presence.
It's scarier because there's no script.
You can't hide behind a technique. but it's the only place where real connection happens. It's scarier, but it's also the only place where we are actually free.
Freedom doesn't come from mastering the process.
Freedom comes from realizing you don't need the process to be whole.
This has been such a refreshing dive. I feel like we usually break down complex systems or data sets. But today, the data point is us.
And that's the most variable data set there is. Data is great for optimization. But life isn't an optimization problem. It's an experience to be lived.
Turning aliveness into a task. Let's not do that. I think I need to go delete about 5 productivity apps from my phone now.
Just don't make deleting apps into a new process you have to perfect.
Touché. The right way to delete apps for maximum presence. I can see the blog post now. We are hopeless.
Yeah, we really are.
But seriously, to recap the journey, we started with the breadth and the absurdity of trying to perform a biological function.
We looked at how we outsource our authority because we believe we are puzzles that need solving.
And we talked about breaking that spell, realizing that nothing outside of you is going to complete the picture.
We discussed using breath not as a tool for control, but as a pivot point for awareness.
And reframing emotions and discomfort as messengers rather than failures. And finally, seeing purpose as a pulse, a present honesty, rather than a future destination.
The underlying message is an invitation. It's an invitation to stop waiting. Stop waiting for the certification, the permission slip, the perfect method. You have the capacity to meet this moment exactly as it is right now.
It's funny, in a world that is obsessed with external validation, this is a reminder that the most important validator is your own internal experience.
Absolutely. The map is not the territory, and you are the territory.
So, here is the thought we want to leave you with today. We talked about shifting from seeing life as a puzzle to solve to a field to move within. I want you to look at the biggest stressor in your life right now.
The thing you are trying desperately to figure out.
Right. If you stop treating that challenge as a puzzle that has a right and wrong answer, and instead viewed it simply as a field you are currently moving through, how would your very next action change?
Would you run? Would you rest? Would you just look around and notice where you are?
Think about it.
Yeah.
Trust the knowing that is already there. Thanks for diving in with us.
Take care.
Let's pause. Just for a moment. No fixing, no adjusting, no getting it right. Just noticing that breath is already happening. We keep noticing how easily the mind reaches outward, how naturally it asks, what's the right way? The right breath, the right method, the right framework to lean on, so we don't have to trust the ground beneath our own feet. Yet breath has never asked to be corrected. It arrives, it leaves, it does not seek approval. And the moment we believe there is a correct way to breathe, we step out of presence and into performance. We turn aliveness into a task. We outsource our own intimacy with being alive. What we're touching here isn't really about breath. Breath is just the doorway. It's about the quiet habit of giving our authority away to systems, to teachings, to techniques, even to well-meaning guides. Not because they're wrong, yet because we forgot that knowing is already embodied. Presence isn't learned, it's lived. This is where the spell loosens. Not through effort, not through insight, yet through recognition. The spell was never dark, it was never malicious. It was simply the belief that something outside us would finally complete the picture. And when that belief softens, life stops feeling like a puzzle to solve and starts feeling like a field to move within. We see this pattern everywhere. in purpose-seeking and self-improvement, in the endless stacking of courses, credentials, identities, as if purpose were a destination instead of a pulse, as if meaning were earned instead of revealed through participation. Yet purpose is not found. It's enacted. It's not a future clarity. It's a present honesty. Breath then becomes a pivot point, not a practice, not a prescription, just a pause where choice becomes visible. We breathe. And in that breath, we notice how we're playing the game. Emotions don't show up to be fixed. They arrive as messengers, pointing to places where an old strategy is still running. Discomfort isn't a failure of growth. It's evidence that something is ready to be met differently. So growth doesn't mean erasing reaction. It means seeing it clearly enough that we no longer have to obey it. And slowly, gently, the game changes. Not because we forced it to, yet because we're no longer unconscious participants. This is the deeper remembering this conversation holds. Life is not procedural. It is experiential. There is no single right way to breathe, no correct way to parent, no universal path to presence or purpose. There is only this moment of aliveness, this capacity to witness, this freedom to respond from what's actually here. And as we trust that, as we live the knowing instead of studying it, we stop searching for permission. We're already inside the answer.